All right, welcome back. I hit record this time, so I'm recording from the beginning. Thank goodness. Welcome back, everybody, to Illustrator. And we're going to jump on in. So thank goodness I don't have to cover off on the course stuff, but I'm going to talk about one last course, college thing. Some of you may think, if you didn't realize it yet, how does he take attendance for this class? Because attendance is really important to the college. We have the attendance assignment. So that's how I take attendance. That's turned in on time, done. You made it to class on Tuesday. If you did the one you made it to class on Thursday. That's how I do it. You could sit in this room. I could talk to you for 4 hours straight, face to face. But if you don't turn in that assignment, you didn't attend the class. It's just because I have students that are online with me over here, over there, and it's the only way it works. So I have one assignment per session that you just got to turn it on time, and that's how I do the attendance. So make sure you get that one in. That's like the top one. So there we go. There's attendance. Got that out of the way. Thank goodness. I'm going to kind of jump in because I have some other questions that came up and I can answer them by actually working on stuff. So we are now in the studio session 2, the lines. You're going to do lines and shapes. We're starting out basic. It may seem like, what? Why is it? But once you know how to do shapes, once you know how lines, and then we're going to start making shapes and combining them, and then start making objects and like actual things. And it just works from one to the other to the other. The other great part about like learning and the way I'm going to teach this is we're doing a lot of repeated processes because that's how you remember how to do things. I could teach you one thing one day and just be like, oh yeah, that's how you do it. You're going to forget it. But unless you start doing things over and over and over, the statistic is, and I believe I mentioned this last class, 10 times. You got to do something like 10 times, and then it's kind of starts to be ingrained in your memory. I'm going to try to do that with all of you. How do you set up documents? How do you work with them? All that kind of fun stuff. So I'm going to start, and we're going to go back. I'm going to do lettering expression and work with that. Yes, top priority. You don't get that one in, you didn't attend class. So yes. Yep. And it's usually the harder one. That's why. All right. I'm going to move this over. I'm going to hit open it up. I'm opening it up so I can see it in one screen, and I have another screen. And let's start. All right, let's jump right in. Let's create a document. So I want a new file again. So we click that blue. I'm still old school. I always go up to this one up here, but this is the new school one. I just, been doing this for so long. And I'm just going to file down the line exactly how it says in your setup. So set up the document, create a print document that's 6 inches wide by 4 tall. Well, because I've already been playing around, the 4 is already in there. So I'm going to double check inches, done, 6 wide, 4 tall. That'll be horizontal. I want 3 artboards. I can change this in the other area as well. So you can add in the artboards here, or you can do it when we scroll down in more settings to make sure. We want the bleed in there. We always want bleed. Now, bleed, again, is when you're printing, when you're working on a project, it goes to print, and it goes to a printer. What they actually do is they print your piece on a larger sheet of paper and then cut it to size. And what happens during the printing process or that cutting process is the paper shifts. It shifts a little bit. They can't keep it perfect. It's getting, better, but there's always a shift. And what the bleed and having your artwork go to bleeding off the page means that if there's a mistake in the cut and it's off like 1/8 of an inch, nobody will know. There won't be just this white line on the edge of the page. It will still look edge to edge. And that's why we use bleed, and that's why bleed is so important to just start setting it up and knowing it. All right, all this is good. I'm going to go to more settings. You can name it now. I'm not going to name mine. I want mine horizontal, right? That little arrow right there. horizontal. I mean, you can set it up however you want. I just think it's easier for what we're doing to just always kind of do this horizontal. I want the spacing to be 1 inch. Again, I'm starting you off, kind of follow the rules, but you'll develop your own habits, but hopefully this will create good habits for you. And there we are. I'm going to create that document. First part is already done. Boom. We got this. Pow, pow, pow. Perfecto. I'm going to set up through the crop marks and then talk about saving a little bit. And there's 2 things to teach you about the saving, and it's how to save both types and how to make sure your bleeds are turned off when you save the PDF. So it's all good. So I'm going to make that first layer, I'm going to call it margin. Easy, easy. And then we need to create that box inside that is telling us, like, don't have any important information go beyond this point on the artboard unless it's purposely chosen to go outside of that. This is almost the reverse of the bleed. I'm going to make that box. So I just made a box, just drew a box, and then I'm going to select it. And so I do a sweeping select. So if any of you notice, I click and then kind of drag across to grab things. You can see like the little gray dots show up. Why is that? I think it's just a habit I've developed over the years. And I think a lot of it is if you have nothing in the middle. So I'm just going to do nothing in the middle of my box there. If I try to grab that box by the middle, I can't grab it because there's nothing in the middle of it. So I got used to just doing this kind of swipe grab of things that I wanted. And so that's why you'll see why does he grab, but he starts far away and then grabs in? It's just this thing I developed over time. It's not right or wrong. It's just what works for me. But again, why is that? Because you can't grab the middle of a box if there's nothing in the middle of the box. So, and if that's, or you got to like go here, make sure you're on the edge. It's just easier for me to just do a swipe and grab. So start to figure that out. Let's make the box the right size. So we're going to go ½ inch smaller on each side. So that's 5.5 by 3.5. I'm just going to use that right here. We know what we want. There's no reason to sit there and struggle with creating the box when we can just type it in, man, computers are great. And then since I'm over here, before I even go over here again, since I'm over here, let's make that the magenta. Boom. Why magenta? Industry standard. It's not me. It is like within the industry, they kind of have certain items set up on print documents. And generally the margin is indicated by magenta line. Guides are cyan. Cut marks are a different color. Folds are a different color. And you'll learn all those over the years. But the first one is like, why is he loves magenta? No, it's just kind of an industry standard. So then with that there, it's off center. So we just simply go to a line. I'm not going to try to figure it myself. I'm going to make sure it's centered here and then 2 down, centered there. Boom, perfectly centered. And then I'm going to do another swipe. I don't know why I unclicked on it and clicked on it. I'm going to do another swipe. That's activated. I'm going to copy, Command or Control C. Remember, start using those keyboards. Your hand should always be on that keyboard when designing to save you time. So I'm going to do that copy, edit, paste on all artboards. Boom. Doesn't get any easier than that. Don't have to redo anything. Don't have to adjust anything. Don't have to, futz with anything. Now let's pull those guides. As you can see, I don't have a ruler showing. That's all right. Let's turn it on. Command or Control R. Boom. Rulers are now on. Done. They're off. Turn them on. I always have my rulers on. I think it's because they reset the computers at the end of the year, at the end of the semester. So they weren't on. Big deal. Turn them on. If you don't see what you're looking for, just find the way that turn that thing on. We're all, it's all good. So then I'm going to pull the guide down, and this one will split all of them in the middle. Boom. And then while that one's still activated, I'm going to pull that guide. And why do I do this? Is it mandatory when you're working on assignments? Well, for me it is. But what does it help you do? When you start designing, it's always good to just kind of have a reference point of where things are on the page. So now I know, like, if I'm building a big document, I make sure my background goes all the way to the bleed marks. And I make sure no important information goes beyond this margin. And just for like the sake of designing, I know where the exact center of my artboard is. And it's just kind of like this relaxing thing, like, okay, I've got this all set up. Now I can design. Now I know where everything is. Oh, I heard a dink. I should put this here. To get the guide, you grab, you click and drag from the ruler. All right. So if you go on that ruler and I just click and hold and I pull it down, you can see that gray line. And when I let go of the gray line, it turns into a cyan line. If your guides aren't showing up, go to View, go to Guides, and then look here. And you can hide guides. And there's also a key command for that. I'm doing the key command. Hide and show guides. It may be activated that yours is set for, like don't show the guides. You can also, another one thing with the guides is you can unlock or lock the guides. I like my guides locked. The reason being is like once they're in, they're in. I'll show you if it's unlocked, something different happens, and let me show you that just so you can see the difference. Because when we start these programs, they're all set different. And once you start to use them, Adobe Illustrator, like in all of them, kind of start remembering some of your favorite things over time. And then it just kind of like remembers, like next time I open the document, it'll be like this. But I'm going to pull a guide. And because I'm on the blue layer, this guide is blue, right? Which means I can actually move it around. If I click on this guide, it'll turn blue. I can move it around. And I can actually even select that guide and delete it. I don't move my guide. Like I kind of like a lot of times like, oh, I want to pull a guide that's 1 inch in, and I do it and I'm done. So for me, it's better to have my guides locked because then I don't want to mistakenly grab the guide and move it. It's a safety net. Like once this is done and I have this done, I want it done. And so that's why I do it the way I do it. You can choose to be like, oh no, I want all my guides always unlocked. I want to be able to move them. That is up to you. Do what you want. Rad. So great. All right. So I'm looking at my assignment here. And now we're going to go up to that hamburger menu and go to template. Now, again, once you make that template, what you can unlock and lock, you can make changes to this layer. But what that template does is anything that I draw on this will never show up on the final print. It is it's for your eyes only as the designer. So you can put in notes, you can scribble, like do anything you want, knowing that whatever's on that template layer, and you can have like 1,000 template layers, they won't print, nothing will show up. And it's just really good to know that. Like there are times, and it kind of shows in those assignments I give you where I put all this stuff on the side here. I have assignments. I'll show you one. File. Open cloud documents where, and I don't think it's not necessarily on the template layer, but I do a lot of work off the board and just leave it there. You know what I mean? Like it's like the side of your desk, like, oh, I'll put that little paper over there. And so I work off the artboard, and that's why if these are maybe on a template layer, they wouldn't show up, but that's not maybe an awesome example, but it's a good example. All right, so I got my margins done, and now I got to do crop marks. So this was asked of me about crop marks, and I think they're rad. I don't know when they were introduced to me. It was a long time ago, and this was back when I did way more hand paste up stuff. Is if you go to your preferences, so for here it's settings. For here it's, and on a Mac you go to Illustrator settings, and then I'll show you. And then on a PC, I think you go to edit, and preferences is down here. 2 different computers. let me just tell you this one too. It's off. It doesn't matter what style of computer you use. If you can't afford a Mac, do not buy a Mac. Just buy a PC. The programs are exactly the same, just like one or two things is in a different spot. You'll hear arguments and this and that and the other. It's the exact same program, no matter what. Get what you can afford. I prefer PC. I work on a PC at home because I have three monitors going here, but all three monitors are separated. And I like a PC because I know they're cheap and I can upgrade it myself and I don't have to go to a nerd. What do they call those Apple people? Oh, Genius. Best Buys are nerds. Apples are but I don't have to go and get it fixed. I can fix it myself. So personal preference again. But going back, I'm going to go to settings, general. And then here it's use Japanese crop marks. And that's why my crop marks look different. And I just kind of think they're cool. So when I do my crop mark and I'm on my layer and I'm going to do my box, the size of the artboard. And then I'm going to make sure no fill, no stroke. Here I'm double checking that it's 6x4. You can just reassure yourself by clicking these that it's perfectly centered. FX, crop marks, boom. Those are those little double crop marks. Just made it easier when it's doing paste ups. Now I'm going to zoom out. I'm using key commands. It's Control minus, Control plus, or Control O, and then there's a new one, View, and then you want to go View all in window. Oh, that's like 3 keys. Option, Command O. I haven't learned this one yet, but that's how you do it. So start to learn those key commands for view, because I'm always zooming in, zooming out. Want the full page, don't want the full page. Start to learn those. All right, so I got one crop mark set on. It's highlighted. I see the crop marks. I'm going to copy using key commands, start the key commands, and then edit, paste on all artboards. Why don't I use key commands for paste in place and paste on all artboards? Because it's 3 keys at once, and I'm not coordinated enough to do that, to hit 4 keys at once. They should just have you put your palm on the side of the keyboard, and that's how you do it. So paste on all artboards, boom, boom, boom. I got crop marks all the way across, and I lock that layer. Now, let's get into some saving thing. I got this set up. We'll get to our words next. I'll get to the create the type layer and adjust the orders in a minute. But all right, so this is my document. So I didn't save this yet. So I'm going to show you a couple things. First off is just File, Save. Now I'm going to save. You can save to your computer or save the Creative Cloud. It doesn't fully matter. Well, it matters depending on if you're here at school. I don't think you can save to the Creative Cloud directly, on a computer, unless you bought your own student subscription. It's really messed up. Don't worry. Or you can save the computer. I'll do save the computer for now. It's the same setup, and I want you to know this may look different on a PC or a Mac, but it's the same process. So don't worry about it. I'm just gonna call, this is what I need to type it. JSCAJA Expo 02 _ All right. Got that. Adobe Illustrator. So some people are asking, how do I change this? So it's right here. And it's different in some programs, but Illustrator, it's always save as. And then if you click on this area where it says format, both sets of computers are going to have arrows, and you click on it. And this is where you save either Illustrator or PDF. But you need to change it to let it know. So for Illustrator file, it's just going to be boom. Do you want this? Yeah. Best version possible. Great. It'll create a PDF compatible file. That's fine. That just means generally a preview will come up. You can turn that off. We used to have to turn that off back in the day because it made a larger end file, but nowadays computers are better. Don't even worry about that. I don't even know why I just told you about that. I just kind of keep that stuff clicked. Okay, done. Now I have the JSCAJA Expo 02.ai. Now I'm going to go File, and now I'm just going to change it to Save as, save on your computer. Now is where there's a new thing I'm going to teach you. I'm going to go to PDF. The name stays the same. It changes this. Don't just change this on your own, this little marker here, and be like, oh, I'll change it from AI to PDF. The computer knows, and it's going to be like, this isn't correct. And then I try to open it, and it can't open it, blah, 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 blah. So don't just like manually change that. Just because you tell it differently doesn't mean the format changed. I get a lot of that. Don't worry. And I used to do that as a beginner. Like, oh, what if I just change the suffix? And no, it doesn't do anything. Now, here's the thing to watch, all right? I'm going to hit save. Something new comes up. One, I don't know why this is on custom. I'm going to do, for us, you do Illustrator default or press quality. I'll do Illustrator default. Now, I want you to do two things, all right? Two very important things. On this general, view PDF after saving. What that's going to do is as soon as it's saved, it's going to open up Adobe Acrobat and show you what you're handing in. And you can double check the work. That's how you check it. Why is that better? Why is that great to do? It shows you your artwork in a different way that you'll be easier to spot mistakes. Like we work on it. Oh, let me get back to you on the crop marks thing. Let me finish this part. All right. So make sure you have view PDF after saving on so you can see what your work looks like. Now, the other one I want you to do is go to marks and bleeds and turn this off. Use document bleed settings. Turn that off. So that's why some of you have been getting the crop marks showing up. And what that does, if you're looking at my document, it will show all the artwork up to the bleed. And we don't need that in the preview. We just want to see it end at the art board. And so make sure you do that, okay? So general, make sure you have view PDF after saving on. Marks and bleed, make sure you turn off use document bleed setting. This will eventually remember that you're doing it most of the time, and it should always do it, but always double check. But again, this is why when you save PDF, boom, this is what my artwork would look like. And then the 3 pages, but of course they're blank. So easy peasy. Yes, that's what I was talking about. Again, somebody asked about the guides, how you change them to the cool ones, right? It's under file. It's under the settings, general, and then there's a little, it's use Japanese crop marks. It's not a mandatory thing to do. It's just something I like. You know, I can't remember who taught me that. So that's how we do it. So again, you do a save as. You want 2 different formats. That's all right. It's recorded. You can jump in, watch the beginning later. And we always, the reason we do 2 formats is we send clients and teachers and people who review our work, we send them the PDF. They don't need to see that, like your client shouldn't have Adobe Illustrator. And you don't want them messing with your artwork anyway. So you send them a PDF. That's what they get to see. That's the preview. Then you have an AI file, the Illustrator file, and that allows you to continually update and change. And that's for enough. That's, you know, I'll tell you stories from the design world later on. You know, once we get rolling and these slow down, you know, I don't spend so much time on this part. So there we have that. I'm going to make my 3rd layer. I'm jumping back into the project. I'm going to make my 3rd layer and call it type. And then I'm making sure that I have a margin layer. The layer underneath should be called crop marks. So I know what it is. If you don't label them, it makes it a little bit harder. So margin, crop marks, type, I go into it. I'll do 1 word. And then I'll do that save as again. Oh, see, now I'm on the thing. This is what messes me up sometimes. I'm actually working in the PDF, so I need to close this out. Don't save. And that only happens because I'm rolling. Usually then, if there's changes to be made, you'd reopen the Illustrator file. That part gets a little confusing. So always make sure you're saving as, closing. Okay, crop marks. Don't worry. You're going to be doing this a bunch of times each week. It'll get easier every time you do it. All right. So I got type, crop marks. Everything's good. I'm going to zoom in. And I believe serif, bold serif in the word. So I'm going to type out. I'm going to start type noise. I just started at all caps. You can change it. I make it big. Again, always hold down shift. We don't want this ever. I don't ever want this. Always in proportion. If you want type that is like skinny, then you find a font that's skinny. It's called condensed. So like there's condensed. I wanted it skinny, that's condensed. But remember the first project was sans serif? Now we need a serif font. So I'm gonna go to times and you just look and I can filter it. So if you click on this and I go to this, it will only show me sans serif fonts. So that makes it easier. Ooh, look at that big weird one. So there, we have it. Now I have my sans serif font. It's nice and big, so I can still work with this. Now I'm gonna go into type, create outlines, and then object, ungroup. I can move these around. I can change the size. You know, like, so this is why I have a hard time sometimes like doing these with you. And then I'm gonna make this one big. So I turned it. I want this oval. And then I'll make this big. And I gotta make all the letters, other ones smaller. Cause, what is that? It looks like a mouth to me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a mouth yelling, noise. And that's how we do it. Now, we went over this, and I had another student contact me and say, I hope it's okay, but I wanted something different. I went online, I looked it up, and I did that. I want everybody to do that. I can't teach you everything in these courses. And I literally once a week am looking up stuff on the internet. Oh, is there a better way to do that? I can't remember how you do this one thing. I go online and I Google it. How do you do this thing in Illustrator? And you'll get 1,000 pop-ups. Don't be shy. Use the internet. It was like, there's like 1,000 ways to cut, type in half. And you just go, how do I cut a letter in half in Illustrator? Let's see what it says. Let's, just so you're not shy about it. How do I cut a bunk? Boom. Videos, and you look at like a 6-minute video, like all this stuff. How do I cut them? Read here, go to the Pathfinder. It's got it, just jump online and look. You can ask me. This is not also, this isn't built for you to, he doesn't want us to ask questions. He tells us to go to the internet. No. I'll do it too, and I might ask you, like, let's jump on a call. It's easier for me to show you than it is for me to type it out, so that's what we do. So then again, let's make sure we know what we're doing. I got noise done, and I just want to show you. I'll type out the other words, but I'm not going to do anything. But I'm going to do that saving thing again. Click on it. Make it big. And then, and sometimes what I do is I just copy, paste that, push this over here. It's already big. Find those ways to make your life easier. Copy and paste will make your life easier. It's kind of crazy how easy it'll make it. And dividing. Just say I'm done. These look awesome. I did something crazy. And then so I'm done, and I go to File, and I save. So I made sure that this is the AI file, right? And then I go to File, Save As. Doesn't matter. You save it where you're most comfortable. I'm going to go to PDF. It's going to ask me to oversave it, but that's fine. Save. Yep, I want to replace it. And I'm going to double check everything. Okay, Adobe default, great. View as PDF, yes. Marks and bleed, all set. Save PDF. And then there's page 1, page 2, page 3. You can't see my crop marks. You know, like this is exactly how it should look. Cool. Any questions on that? But guess what? We're just going to do it again because we'll go on to the next project. Just opening the next project on a different panel so I can see instructions. I do not have them memorized. All right. The book challenge, the typographic challenge. This one I'll talk about some other things too while we're doing it. File, new. I was old school because I don't want to have to go back to the home menu. And so that's why I do it. We're going to do a print document, of course. And it's going to be 6 inches wide, 5 inches tall. So then I'm going to do 6, but here's the problem. I'm going to go to points. I have to change points to inches. Then I have to go back to that. 6 inches. Make sure you're doing that. Every once in a while we get somebody and they send it in and I'm like, why is it so small? Like, what's going on? And they did 6 points by 6 points. And if you were in real life, that's like an 1/8 inch by an 1/8 inch. You can still design that small, but it's not going to help us. So 6 inches wide, 5 inches tall. We want 3 artboards 1 inch apart. I'll do the 3 here. I'll do 0.25, and I'm just going to hit tab. You can move on. More settings. 3. I want them horizontally spaced. I want them 1 inch apart. And I'm just going to redouble check everything. Does it look good? Yeah, this seems like what I want. Create that document. Lovely. Going to go up to my layer, margin, just like normal. We're going to create our box. The box is 1/2 inch smaller. So it's going to be 5.5. And I'm going to hit tab. So the reason I say hit tab a lot is if you watch here, tab automatically jumps to the next available item. And so instead of like, because I have to type in there, I have to take my hand off to type. But if I just hit tab, I can keep my hand over the keyboard. Does that make sense? So you learn to use tab in certain areas. It's another quick function across the board. You fill out surveys online, anything, hit tab. See what tab will move you from from that name, hey, I got to fill this out, and just hit tab if you don't have autofill. All right, so I have my margin. Let's make sure we get it the right colors and centered up. Fill, nothing. Stroke, magenta. Centered, right? It's still I'm going to copy, edit, paste on all artboards, pull a guide. My ruler isn't showing. Command or Control R, pull down my ruler. While that's still activated, I'm going to pull a ruler across. I'm going to activate that one. Pull a ruler, pull a guide, excuse me, and do the third one. Pull a guide. Lock it, hamburger, template, and while I'm still up here, plus, And I do this right away. I just grab this, pull this down, double click, crop, marks. Gonna make that box. Gonna check it, 6x5, stroke, nothing, centered, centered, effects, crop marks, control copy, edit, paste on all artboards, boom, boom, boom. I can see it's done. I can lock that up. Let's make our other layers now. Type an image. Double click on it. Make another one. I'll show you something else here. So these colors come up, and what happens is those colors, and I'm just going to draw a box. Just so when you use that layer, let me zoom in. Oh, that's a horrible layer, color to show. It'll show up here. See how it shows green? But then if I'm on this layer and I draw something, it's blue. And if I grab both of them, one's green and one's blue. That's indicating to you which layer they're on. All right. Now, sometimes, depending on how you do like copy layers and do all this stuff, you may get like 2 layers that are all red. But if you double click on just on that layer, you can change the color to whatever you want. And sometimes I have to do that. Like, because what it does is if you don't mess with them, each time you create a layer, it starts with light blue, light red, green, medium blue, magenta. Like it goes down this line. But there'll be times when I'm working and I'll make like 3 type layers and they'll all be the same green. You just double click, change it to what you want. I'll teach you something in the future about this dim images as you go too. But that's how you do it. You get a little more information here. And it's another place if you want to do the template, you can double click on it and hit template. But the reason I don't do that is if you're already over here, you can either double click or you can go up here, which is easier. If I'm just like working, I'm just up here. Because the reason is if I double click, it brings it back down here. So instead of me moving, I move less. I know it's hilarious. It may seem really weird. Like he's talking about moving like a couple inches on the, like in the scheme of things. But when you're designing and you're going from tools to menus to panels to art to tools to like anything you can do to stop doing this saves you time. So if I can go, instead of, grabbing that and going to edit, copy, edit, paste, I can just do copy paste and I'm done, like on the keyboard. And that's why we kind of talk about that. Like what, why is there so much importance? You're trying to save yourself time in design. You spend more time designing, less time like figuring out where everything is. All right, let me please open the assignment here. All right, so now we do our copy paste from the assignment. Oh, 1984. I'm just grabbing it all. All right. I just went in the assignment. I'm grabbing title, paragraph, author, and I'm just going to copy. All right. I can delete that out in a minute. And then I want to show you a little bit more about working with those, the type boxes. Paste. Now, I pasted that and it came across like this. I'm going to double click on this and see what it does. All right. And let's talk about that. And then I'm going to extract the typography. You have area type and what's the other one called? Point type. Point text and area text. Area text is a text box that when you move it, it all goes like this, all right? And that little circle is solid. If I double click on this, it becomes like clear. It's not solid. But when I adjust it, it does this. It stretches it and changes it. All right. You need to know the difference between the two, and you use them differently. So the title and the name shouldn't be, it should be area text, not point text. Or title and author should be point text. Sorry, I don't always say these words a lot. So I'm going to take this 1984. I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste. Now I have that. And I know if I squish it, yep, that's the correct kind. Then I'm going to go back to this paragraph, and I'm just going to delete out that part. Go here, delete, and then I'm going to copy out the name. You can exit, cut, paste, copy. And I went to the type tool, and all I did was tap. If you tap, it's point. If you drag, it's area. So tap. Oh, okay. Tap. There we go. Drag and create paragraph. And that's how you create the two. And sometimes if you're working, like, you can like just quickly mess up a little bit. It's fine. You know, like I do it all the time. Like, oh, I meant to do this one over that one. You just delete it, do it again. So let's get this out of here. So sometimes you see me do stuff a couple times here. Do you see that? So what I did, I wanted to make that smaller. I realized it's the wrong one. I undid, Control Z, Command Z, and I'm just going to double click on that. And now it's what I want. And then I'm going to double check. I have weird returns. See that? Like those gaps that are happening. Those are returns that shouldn't really be there that I can just delete out. I go to Winston, delete, space. Here's another one. I don't know if you guys, if this is still taught. Double spacing after periods. Don't do that anymore. I don't know if you guys grew up with that. It was an old typewriter thing. All right. Now I want to talk about one last thing, and then we'll move on to the big artwork. It is the same project. Then you're going to find your image of the book. Let's do that. How do I find it? 1984 book covers. Return. Tools. So mind you, I am a Google user. I use Google. If you use Safari, if you use Firefox or whatever weird browsers there are, you have to find out your way of doing it. I know Google. It's what I use. So I'm going to go to Tools, and then, oh, it doesn't have that. I'm going to make sure I'm in Images, Size, Large. So Images, Size, Large. And then I should be able to click on one, any one. I don't want these angled ones. You want the ones that are straight up and down. I'll do that one. I got it. It's 800 by 1300. That looks really good. If it says like 200 by 200 or lower, it's going to be too small. Everything should be above 500. That's pixels, by the way, what they're saying. I'm going to right click on that. Save image as. I'm going to save it to my desktop. It's already called 1984. I'm just going to take off the thumb part. And hit save. I'll talk to you all in the future about being organized and making folders on desktops and saving like all the work for one project in one folder, all the work, so that you're not trying to find stuff. I lost it. It's over here. It's over there. When we're starting out, it's a lot to do. And so I'll gradually bring these things in. So I got my image, file, place, 1984 right there, place. Let's make that smaller. So I can grab the corner and hold down Shift, right? I can go to scale, double click on that, and type in like 50%, just gets it smaller. That's for scale, this little box to box. That's a quick way to do big moves, especially if it's off the artboard. Now I'm going to look at this. I'm going to unlock type and that. Just because I got a really narrow image, I'm thinking in my head, like, do I dare fill this halfway and just have this? Now, this is the one I wanted to talk about. I'm going to pick a different font. Do I specify the font type? Ooh, you can use whatever you want. All right. I think I mentioned this. I don't know if I mentioned this. I had somebody else do it. Oh, in a different class. You're creatives. Everybody here is creative. What I don't want you to do is use Myriad Pro, which is the default font. Anything you type in automatically in Illustrator is Myriad Pro. If you use Myriad Pro, it shows you don't want to be creative, because anybody who opens this up and starts typing, it's Myriad Pro. There's nothing creative there. Have some fun. Dig around. If you're so inclined, let me show you. Dun, dun, dun. I'm going to move this here. The Adobe Creative Cloud Starter area, all right? So if you get to this, there's this little F. You can click here. It shows you your fonts. And if you click on Browse More Fonts, and this is if you have your own account, all right? If you're strictly working at school, this isn't working, and it won't work for like 2 years. It's a dumb thing. But if you have your student account that you paid for, this should be accessible to you. And it's thousands of free fonts. Like, I'll just click on this. I'm just going to hit Add Family for Revla. All right, whatever. I'm just clicking it. Now it's going to add it to here automatically. And within a minute or two, I should be able to change my font to Revla. And it all happens automatically. And like I said, sometimes it takes a minute for it to go through. But it'll happen. So now I'll talk about margins. So I want a different font. I'm going to do this font for this and this, but not for this. It's too hard to read. And so for the display font, I'm going to change it, and I want a non-sans serif. And I will go with I don't know why that seems kind of weird and cool. All right. Oops. All right. So the other thing is I want to talk about margining. So we know about this outside margin. Now there's a design margin for everything. Everything we do in design, we call all these pieces, if you're in design elements and principles, they're design elements. And what we don't ever want is design elements, unless it's purposely designed, touching. You don't want things right up against each other, overlapping like a little bit. You know, like if it's intentional, it's one thing, but like everything has its space. I call it personal space. When you're talking to somebody, how close do you want them to your face? You know, you're like, back off. Give me some room. Like, I want to be able to see your face. Give me a couple feet and talk to me that way. It's designed personal space. So everything should have its own personal space. So if I have an image here, I should have a nice amount of space away from it. And for me, like, I have a margin here of that much space. Maybe I'll approximate the same amount of space. And then I can do that with this text. I'm going to do my text box and grab it and give that same amount of space. It's along this edge. There's a gap here, and I'm going to make that text bigger because I can. So I'm just going to go up. That is not the best font in the world. So I'm going to get rid of that. Oh, and I'm going to show you one more thing too. Yay. And then I'm going to make sure George Orwell is like the exact same size. And so another way to do this. I bring it up there and I'm going to shift and do this, or I can drag a guide across. And there's my guide. And then I'm going to bring that down. And I know George Orwell is good. I know this. I'm going to get that kind of centered in between these two and be good. Now you're going to hear me say something about hyphens and widows. Well, I got a hyphen in this, but I don't have a widow. I have a hyphen. So let's go down to paragraph, hit these 3 dots, and I'm going to make sure that's turned off. And there I have my first design. Oh, and the other thing you're allowed to do, you can add a background color. You're allowed to add one color. Black and a single color can be used. So if you were so inclined, you could be like, oh, I'm going to do this. I made a background layer. And I actually wanted that gold color. So I'm going to zoom in on my image. My background is selected. I'm going to go to this little thing. This is called the eyedropper tool. And I can select a color from the image so it perfectly matches. Then I'm going to zoom out. And there we have it. And then I get to go, you can check it, presentation mode. All right, looking pretty sweet. I'm going to hit escape, file, save as. Again, I'm going to save it in my computer. You're going to name it the right thing. I'm not naming it the correct thing right now. Save. All right, checking it. Yep. Okay. File, save as, save on your computer, but PDF. Save. Now I'm going to check it. View PDF after saving. Correct. Marks and bleed. All right, that's unchecked. Save PDF. There's my first page. And then the other 2 are blank because I didn't design them. So, but see how everything has a gap? Like, see that nice spacing there? The nice spacing there. I can read things. Like, they're separated. They're not on top of each other. Like, figure out that margin. Everything should have its own little margin around it. There are times I stack type all the time, but it's intentional. And then you make sure that it's known that it's intentional. But start to think about, like, all right, are things touching? How close is it? What should I do? I should fix that, and all those other things. Rad. All right. Cool. Final project here. Let's get to it. Now, again, the book, I don't talk about the book. The book talks about itself. Oh, close. Vector graphics. I'm going to the assignment just to see what I'm doing. Oh, I have to go to it a different way. Because I'm recording the session, it doesn't always like me doing stuff. Start mission. Right here, design mission 2. I'm going to download this one. There's no font with this one. And every other design mission you're going to do, you will be recreating artwork from another designer from the past, the present, the future. Well, not the future. Mine are from the future. So your about the illustration, it's the Kinder Symphony Stained Glass Window by Frank Lloyd Wright. You read about it. Learn something about design before you do it. You're going to recreate this. You're going to be using the line tool and the shape tool. That's it. It's very easy, the pen tool. Let's get started. So I downloaded mine, and I'm going to go to my downloads. And I'm going to open it. And there we have it. So again, I have line, I have it set up. Lines, shapes, white boxes, frames, and then we have our outline image and the actual image. So this is it. It's a lot of squares. A lot of squares and a lot of lines. Let's jump in. The first thing I would jump in and do is the lines. And it's somewhat of a baseline grid. And once you kind of create one line, they all flow. Now I said let's start with the lines. We're going to do it in a little different way. I'm going to go to my lines. And I need to do it all. I'm going to work on this panel right now, okay? And I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to get the rectangle tool. Remember the rectangle tool? And I'm going to draw a rectangle. And for me, and for this, I don't want any fill on it yet. So I want my rectangle to have nothing. I want the stroke to be black. And I believe we can up the stroke to like 4. And we'll be in a good spot. It'll be nice and thick. I'm going to zoom in, kind of double check it. Yeah, it's about a 4. All right. So that's our frame. And that you can make kind of the frame for here, here, and here, as you please. Now, we need to make lots of lines. And we're going to use all those align tools and everything, and it'll help us out. So I'm going to make sure I'm not actually clicked on that. It's not active. And I'm going to go to the pen tool. And you can just, right now, just somewhere. I'm going to click once. I'm going to hold shift. And you can go all the way across if you want. Sometimes I like to not go all the way across, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Oh, we can go all the way across. No, I'm not gonna. So I clicked once, and now it's sticking to me. Oh no, like see how that's sticking to me? All you have to do is hit return, enter, or click on something else, and it'll go away. The pen tool is very great. We're gonna do a whole lesson on the pen tool and the crazy things you can do. But right now, you just need it to draw vertical and horizontal lines. So I got my horizontal line here. And I know it's lined up with that edge. And I'm going to hold down shift and bring it down and line it up there. Now, the other thing you can do, I'm wearing black on black. I got to change them to black later on. Change the color. You know, like I want to know what I'm working on. I'm going to change it to cyan for now, just so I can see it. And then when I'm done, I'll take all these lines and I'll change them to black. Now I did one. Now remember, like with the equalizer, I'm going to hold shift and then it's option or control, depending on your computer. And I'm going to line the next one up. All right. And then I'm going to hit command or control D, duplicate. And they're not all going to line up just like the equalizer, but we're going to use the align and the distribute spacing to help us out. You sort of already did the hardest. Like I did another one. I'm going to pull another one. Because as soon as you click off of it, you have to make a new one so it remembers. And I'm going to duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. I'm just hitting Control D. And just for the sake of it, I'm just going to keep going. Duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. As you can see, it's almost a grid. And I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. And I'm going to make sure it's somewhat lining up. And I'm going to move this one to here. I'm going to see what it does. And I'm going to make one more up here. All right. And so I have this outline box. I'm going to take that box. And I know I'm kind of going back and forth with stuff, but it's the thinking process. Like you can't always, it's not always linear. And when you're working, so now I know what I want to do, but I want to grab just the box and I'm going to lock it. Object, lock, selection. What that does is it keeps it there, but I can't grab it and I can't move it until I unlock it. Oh, that's a dream thing. You will kind of always be locking and unlocking. You can do it in different layers, but it's a way to like lock what you're wearing. That allows me to now click and drag and grab all the lines. Now I have a line all the way at the bottom, matching the bottom, and I have a line all the way at the top, matching the top. And I'm going to go over the Pathfinder, the 3 dots, and I got to scroll down. It's not showing me. Oh, a line. Excuse me, not Pathfinder. A line. And I'm going to distribute my spacing from top to bottom. And it's a little bit off. And you know what that tells me? I need to add one more line, I think. Let's try that. I added one more line. I'm grabbing them all, and I'm going to do the same thing. And if it's off, then I'll just hand adjust. But it's getting me pretty close to what I want. So Frank must have not been perfect when he built this. And so we're going to fix it, make it better. Because I don't think, yeah, we can use those. Now, we will adjust as needed. You can, if you want to be perfect on those lines, you can. And that's so easy to do. We just tap up. He had some bigger spaces when he designed this. So I can grab, say those 4, and use the arrow key and tap up. Grab these, tap up. Grab this one, tap up. And get the lines. This line we don't need, right? Nothing there. Delete it. So I'm going through and kind of just checking. I'll grab these 2, tap down. This one, I don't need. This one, I don't need. This one, tap down. Space bar, go up. And now I'm checking across here. So I can probably get rid of these. I'll get rid of those. And these, let's start tapping down. Get them in line. I'm going to hold down, grab this one, hold down shift, drag it down. Shift, drag it down. Shift, drag it down. And I'm just getting my horizontals all set up. Shift, drag it down. Shift, drag it down. Shift, drag it down. And then get rid of these. And then I can get rid of that empty one that was there. Remember, we made an empty one. And then one here. So now we have the line started. So now I need to drag some of these across, some all the way, some not all the way. I'm going to use the direct select tool now. All right. It's selects the whole thing. And if I were to drag it, it's at one, it's hard for me to get. See how it's like jumping all over the place? And I want that one. And if you can do it, but watch what's happening. I have a setting called scale stroke. And so when I make it bigger, it makes the stroke bigger. It's great for some designs. It's great for working on some things. Not great for others. And that's a setting in preferences. But I know if I take the direct select tool and I want this line to stop short, I want these lines to come all the way across. I'm going to drag just the tips of these, grab just those tips, and then I'm going to pull them across holding shift. There we go. This one, I'm going to click on that one. I'm going to and then move it up, and I'm going to hold down shift, and I'm going to drag it to run around there. These 2 are good. I can make that one a little bit further, and I'm just selecting that endpoint and dragging it to where it needs to go. These, I'm going to do the reverse because the boxes are here. I'm going to take them with the other select tool, move them this way, then do the opposite. Pull them this way. This one, just grab that little point, shift, and drag across. These 3, shift and drag across. And now we have all our horizontal lines done. And it's just a lot of repeating. Copy, paste, pull, drag, a lot of shift. And it's just straight lines. And you get them to line up as you need. Now we need to do the verticals. So to make things easier, again, I'm going to grab all my horizontals. I'm going to go to Object, Lock, lock selection. I can't get to those right now, which means I have more freedom in doing what I need to do. So I'm going to make some more lines. Going to grab my pen tool again, and I'm going to do a vertical line. This one I'll do a little bit different. Then I got that rubber band. I think they call that rubber banding. I'm going to go over here, turn that off. And I'm going to drag this down, and I'm holding shift. And I want it a little bit longer. We want to make sure we're overlapping our lines so there's no gaps. Then I can grab this line, and I'm going to hold shift and option, or shift and command, or shift alt, excuse me. And I'm going to duplicate that. See that arrow came out? I want that secondary arrow, and it's going to make a second one. And then I can pull that across. There. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And now I can drag these two, go back to that direct select. I'm going to grab just these 2 points, hold down shift, and pull up. Now I want to drag these 3 lines down. I'm going to select across, grab those, and pull them. I'm holding down shift. And I'm going to stop here. Why? Because this third one needs to stop, but these 2 can continue. Here's the magic in this. Then I just grab this one, and I'm holding down shift, and I'm pulling down. Grabbing this one, holding shift, and dragging down. Remember, I'm using the direct select. I'm not using the select. I need another line, right? I'm going to grab this guy, shift, alt, and or option, and I'm going to drag it down. Hand tool, because I need to see more, pull it up. Boom. I want these lines, and I want them to continue. I'm going to double check. It's just those. Oh, these 3 lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these 3, and I'm going to do that shift, alt, or option, and do that same thing. I want to drag them down. And it's not letting me do the thing where I drag them down. So I'm just going to keep grabbing, hold down shift, and drag them down to where I need them to be. And then I'll work from there. They're all lined up. This one needs to be higher. I'm going to grab the direct select tool, grab it, and pull it up. This one's needed further down. I'm going to grab it, hold down shift, bring it down. These 3 all come to different areas. Direct select. And again, this is one, if you want to start using A and V as those quick keys to learn, I want to do this quicker on my keyboard. And again, I'm holding down shift. Your life will revolve around holding down shift. I promise you, in graphic design. It's the constraint. And I'm just filling in those lines. Hold it, drag down. Grab it, shift, drag down. Grab it, shift, drag down. And I'm going to zoom out. I produced all the lines that are needed for this, except for the circle. Well, that should be easy. We just need to create a circle. So I'm going to do the same thing where I grab everything, object, lock, selection, everything's locked, which is easy, which means I can then go to the circle. Now I'm going to make a circle. I hold down the rectangle to find the ellipse tool. Excuse me, the ellipse. And I'm going to hold down shift, and I need it, the same size. I can resize it as needed. Pull that over. And now I get it I'm looking. This is where it gets into it. I'm like, okay, is there anything sticking out? What can I do? What can I change? I think it's pretty good. I want it a little bit smaller. All right. And then remember when I clicked on this, remember that rad thing with this little pointer, that Pac-Man? But I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to pull this one, and I'm going to stop here. And then I'm going to delete this line because it goes a little past. But you can delete that inner line, or you should be able to. So what I did, okay, I'm going to pull this off so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to make a copy of this. Ah! All right. So I have an outline on a shape, but I don't want this part of the outline anymore. I just want just that one part because it's kind of intruding and I don't need it. I should be able to, using the direct select tool, I'm going to select only this line, and then I should be able to hit delete, and it deletes that. And now that's fine. I just want that shape. I can even delete that. And then when I put this in here, it's perfect. Now what I can do, and what I would recommend is do this section. You hand up or stretching? No, I'm stretching. Okay. Do all the black lines. All right? Do all the black lines across at once on your lines. Then I'm going to go to Object, Unlock All, and I can change those all to black, and then make sure that they're all still 4-point. All right? And for some reason, that one didn't grab. Oh, because I unlocked all, but then I didn't select all. Easy enough. Boom. All right. Well, shapes. 2 shapes are involved here, circles and squares. And all your colors are here. So I'm going to go to the shapes. Right? And let's zoom in a little bit. I'm going to try to keep this available. Move my screen over, use that space bar. And then all you have to do is make rectangles. Now the rectangle, I want it to be that red color. All right, I'm going to use the eyedrop tool. I'm going to select that red color. Boom, it's that red color. This one, I need a red one there. Copy paste. Red one there. Hold down, alter option. Red one there. Red one there. This is dark gray. This is dark gray, right? Select them both. Eyedropper tool, dark gray. Got one here. However you want to copy and paste. I find it easier to just use the key commands, set it in place, and that one's this color. We got one here. Option. Oop. Move that there. I think is it? No, I don't know the color. Got one there. Here and here. What we're going to do is I'll make these 2 squares and then put the circle on top. You don't need to cut anything out. This, I'm not holding shift for once because I'm just filling in this box. And then I'm going to make the color change to this. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to create the circle. Make it the red color, which I can just boom right there. Slide it on over. Reduce the size a bit. Slide it on over a bit more. And then remember, Pac-Man. There we are. Do 4 more squares. This part, that panel is done. Now I have 2 other. I have an area called the frames, white boxes and frames, right? White box is just the white box. So on white box, I'm going to literally create a white box. Rectangle. Pull that. Under properties, I want my fill to be white. Stroke to be nothing. And then you do the backgrounds. That's what I called frames. So for the most part, there's a big black frame and then gray frames. So if I do the black frame, And this can be sloppy. You can go way past those bleeds if you want. Like going past the bleeds is what you're supposed to do. And then that's black. And then I need the gray frame. But the dumb part is I can't see the gray frame. So you got to do it in the right order. But you just move that over. Make the gray frame. Line it up. I dropped that color. It's gray. Pull this back. And then remember, if you do it out of order and your gray goes away, remember to arrange, where you can arrange and then send the front, send the back. Remember, it's pieces of glass. But there you go. That first one is done. I didn't do the little daubs down here. But then, you turn off your eyeballs. All right, looking good. Turn it back on. And it's a repeating process of working with lines, moving lines, holding down shift, and just learning the basics. Again, on the side, I have the notes and the colors. But double check, like, oh, wait, okay, ellipse. And I have a lot of the key controls here for the most part. Like check here, like, oh, he was locking selections and all this kind of stuff. That's what you need to do. Are there questions, comments, or concerns? And I'm around to ask. All right. So yeah, for the design mission, it is to recreate a Frank Lloyd Wright window. I don't know where it was from. All right, I'm checking the notifications. Okay, so assignments. If it was assigned on Tuesday, it's due on Tuesday at the end of the day. If it was assigned on Thursday, it's due on Thursday at the end of the day. You have two, so I allow you a full week to do Tuesday work. It's one full week. Thursday, one full week. Yes, things overlap. Guess what? That's the industry. You're never working on just one thing at a time. I know you got other classes, but you also know in 2 weeks, we'll almost be like halfway through. It's weird. Those first two projects, you guys will be like, oh, make 3 box, do the type thing, and you'll have that done in like an hour or less. Like, that's the process, though. I'm teaching you, like, you start slow. What do I have to do? I have to do this. But by repeating the processes, all that early stuff becomes super easy. Like setting up the documents now it's taking you like 15 minutes. Will take you like 4 minutes. You'll be done. You're like, oh, I know how to do this. And then it just becomes second nature. And that's the beauty of it. Yeah, shapes in one, lines in the other. The design was. Do you mean this design one right here that we're looking at with the lines? Rewatch. Okay, rewatch the stereo one. Watch with the, rewatch the video. And when you get stuck in a certain part, ask me questions. Send me notes. And I wanted the other one. If I know you guys are always in it, then I'm trying to speed up. Yeah, message me. Yeah, message me, and then I might ask for a screenshot or something like that. Any other questions? All right, I'm around. Everybody who's in the classroom, I'm here until like 3 or 4 today. I have another class, but it's not until 1. You can stay, hang out in here, whatever you want. We'll figure out some other problems. People online, I'm always around. Send me messages, send me texts, whatever you need. I'm here to answer your questions, and we'll get through it. Use those boards though. Like send me your work. You're like, hey, how does it look before I turn it in? I'll tell you what to fix. I'll tell you how to improve them, and it'll be great. All right, thank you very much. I will talk to you, if not on discussion boards and messages, on Tuesday. All right, thanks again. Bye.